Welcome and thanks so much for joining us for this ACI Learning webinar. This is all things cybersecurity. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if not, oh boy, you are in for a treat. I'm Sophie Goodwin. I'll be your host and kind of a moderator for this webinar because we will be fielding questions. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but if you do have questions, drop them in the chat. And I'm not alone here. Daniel Lowrie, over here to my right. You probably know him. You probably love him. He's, something of a legend. I'm building him up. I'm just building him up.
Stop already.
I know, he's blushing. How are you doing today, Daniel?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. It's been a heck of a week here at the old ACI studios. So, we got, all things cyber today, which is always a phenomenal time. I've been in studio with Mike Saunders from Red Siege. We're making AV, EDR, Evasion series. It's been, just mind-blowing. And Mike's such a great guy. So I couldn't ask for a better job. I got to be honest with you.
You have been the busiest bee in the studio this week. You really have been.
It's like this cyber thing is kind of important and people seem to enjoy it. I don't get it.
It's like they pay you to do it.
I know.
Really weird.
They
Yeah,
do.
you had TechNado, a new course, and now all things
That's
cyber.
right. That's
and
right. We launched the new format of the TechNado as well.
We did.
That's right.
We did. If you are a TechNado fan and haven't watched that yet, it came out this morning, so check that out. But of course, it's not just you and I here. It's never just you and I. We always have a very special guest, and today is no different. We've got Mr. Joe Helle with us. He's going to pop in on the screen here in just a second, I think. There he is. Welcome, Joe. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're actually the COO of TCM Security, that is a title. That is like
the coup.
It feels like we've got a COO on our show. Like, I feel like
we've stepped our game up.
Should be wearing a tie or something.
That's
here.
right. We still meet you at the board meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's weird because I think I remember, Joe, I saw a post from you the other day that this is kind of a full circle moment. If I recall correctly, this is not your first brush with Daniel Lowrie. It's not your first run-in with Daniel Lowrie. You took some training from him, didn't you?
That bar in San Antonio.
No. I can nip that in the bud. No, this is a professional brush. It was training, right? You took training that Daniel was teaching, and now you're on the show. Full circle. I think that's really
cool.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's sticking crazy to think
he
about.
was his videos helped me along when I was first breaking into the industry and learned the basic tenets of security, cybersecurity, networking, help desk, and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, Daniel, I know we're going to have some questions here, both for you and Joe, and maybe I'll throw in my opinion if it's relevant. I'll add a little spice to the show, and
we encourage this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to have you here as a mentor and encourager. But before we get into all that, I know there's usually a question that you ask of our guests that has to do with like what
you gonna steal it from me? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
I don't remember the question. So I know you asked something, but I don't remember. So I'm tossing it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I do like to ask this question because a lot of people that watch All Things Cyber, or if they're familiar with my training from IT Pro ACI, it's all about gaining skills that are relevant to cybersecurity, obviously, because that's what we're all about. At least that's what I do. And our guests, that's what they do. And a lot of people want to follow in our footsteps, and they're learning skills. But it can be really easy to forget that journey never really ends. There's always more to learn. There's always new things that come out. There's more deep dive. You could go down into stuff that you already kind of know. So I like to ask our guests when they come on, how are you skilling up for your next adventure and in your skill set, in your journey in cyber? So Joe, toss it to you, brother. Like, what is it you're doing right now that is, and I know you've kind of moved into a little more of the enterprise leadership area and space, but if you still got your hands on the keyboard, what is it you're excited about? What is it you're wanting to learn? How are you growing your skill set?
Well, moving up always means that you get less time at the keyboard. So trying to at least stay on par with my team is what I'm trying to do. So that could be Active Directory, that could be looking into cloud training, which I've started doing, as well as making sure you're maintaining all of your methodology practice and experience that you have with that. I've been looking at some exploit development. Last year, I built out a course for Python command and control. It was just something that I wanted to learn more about, and kind of dove into it head first. So looking at tool development is something I really like to do, and just continuing to skill up that way while trying to stay on the same level as the folks who work for me.
Yeah, very cool, right? Like it's the stuff that like I was thinking if I was independently wealthy, Daniel, I'm Powerball winner, Daniel. How would I spend my time behind the keyboard? And yeah, some of that stuff that you just mentioned absolutely captures my imagination and gets me gets me kind of fired up and motivated and inspired to set the phone down, set the YouTube or whatever it is I'm doing down, and go, yeah, let me focus in on this. Let me learn a little bit more about this. This is kind of cool. And so I love to hear from our guests exactly what it is that kind of gets them motivated, gets them excited about getting back on the keyboard and doing something to make something happen. I know that your C2 development course got really popular, and I've heard nothing but good things. And I think you and I have kind of chatted a little bit back and forth on LinkedIn about that as well. So very cool stuff. I was super excited to see that when you popped that off, and I've seen nothing but good things about it. So really good job there.
Oh, thank you.
That said, have we reached the threshold for questions to start rolling in yet, Sophia?
We have been getting questions. Yes, yes, we have. Sometimes we get questions that I'm like, it's just like a random question.
Yeah.
Like somebody was asking about Riz in the chat, and I was like,
Oh my goodness.
well, we can't really answer that because I don't know that any of us have Riz.
You would have
So-
to. Well, if we were going to talk about Riz and demonstrate it here on All Things Cyber, you'd be the most amazing Rizzler.
The
Right?
Rizzler.
Rizzler, as I
You'd
believe
be- You'd be the Wizard of Oz.
the
yes.
Wizard of Oz, right? That's because
My mom's gonna watch this and be like, "What are you talking about?"
you Gen X
So
or
we-
what it was Z, you Gen
Z.
Zers.
So
What's wrong with you?
we did get a question about that. Unfortunately, I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that one. I think you've seen probably by our demonstration. There's no Riz here to be had,
No,
so
no.
we can't. We're not really authorities on that. We're
Is there anti-Riz? That's what I am.
the anti-Riz. It's like some chemical in a comic
I'm
book.
not even neutral, right? I'm actively removing Riz.
You try to not
Yeah,
have Riz.
That's right.
We do have questions to
Okay,
answer your
let's move to
question. We
that.
do. We'll go to this first one. We've got folks watching from Zoom, from LinkedIn, from YouTube. So we'll pull in from YouTube first. This one comes from PC, just the initials there in the chat. What's the best certification for a jaded ex-coder to get useful and up-to-date information about dealing with scammers and hacking? I like they included the word jaded in there.
Yeah,
They're a
yeah,
little
yeah.
cynical at this point in their career.
Oh man, that code, I'd rather take a beating than
Okay.
yeah. Well, that's how I feel if you say
Yeah.
the word jaded.
Yeah.
That it wasn't a good experience for you, I would think. But this is an interesting and very specific question,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot going on in this. So best certification, jaded ex-coder perspective, needs useful, up-to-date information. So nothing old, nothing used, nothing borrowed, nothing blue. Information about dealing with scammers and hacking specifically. I don't know that exists out there with especially because you threw that scammer part on there. Joe, are you familiar at all with something that might go down that road?
I would think if you can find any training to do with open source intelligence or as well as social engineering, the social engineering aspect would kind of be in line and on par with that. But like Daniel said, I don't think there's any specific certification. I would suggest though that there is training available, and I would research that out and see if you can find something that would align with that need.
Yeah, and the cool thing about a lot of stuff like the idea behind scammers and scam bait, and like I think it was John Hammond. We had John Hammond on. He was talking about doing the People's Help Desk and our phone call center, People's Call Center, and scamming scammers. So I feel like that's probably something that might come up because that's becoming a popular thing to do and an entertaining thing to watch, and really interesting for people that are into cybersecurity to maybe want to use their skills. Because I mean, growing up and learning cyber, a lot of people are like, "You do not hack back. We are not we're not getting into warfare with our attackers. We are stopping them. We are doing that, but we don't get into like hacking back." Whereas doing scam baiting and stuff is kind of that. Like they are absolutely hacking back. So maybe there's a space for that's about to start becoming more popular, and therefore you might see actual straight up training to do so. That would be interesting.
Yeah, when I try to look up just those buzzwords of certs that getting you familiar with scammers and things, the only thing that comes up is like anti-fraud certifications, which is a totally different thing. Still
Yeah.
valuable, but it's like a totally separate thing. So unfortunately, maybe it doesn't exist yet. Maybe that's something that somebody can create. Maybe somebody in this chat will create that certification.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
All right.
Yeah.
That is an interesting, wow, that's an interesting quote. Nature abhors a vacuum. Is that what you said?
Yeah. You've
Did you
never
make
heard
that up just
before? No.
That's all right. I feel like I'm talking to Charles Dickens over here.
Yeah, I feel like Teddy Roosevelt just came back to that.
Yeah.
Nature impose a vacuum.
Yeah, I felt like I was talking to an
Are the
acclaimed
people
author.
nowadays just uneducated?
That's yeah. Well, I'll leave that unanswered. I'll let my quotes speak for themselves. We do have some more questions coming into the chat. This one, we'll pull another one from YouTube here. This person wonders, do you recommend any tips and strategies for studying CompTIA certs like Security Plus? And those CompTIA certs do seem to be, when they're talking about, especially like the first certs that people usually get, it's like all CompTIA stuff. So I don't know. Do you have any tips and strategies for that?
I got some tips, but I'm really interested in hearing Joe's take on this. So, Joe, take it away. Like, and I guess not just Security Plus, but this would probably apply to just about any certification that you were studying for. But I'm sure you got some great tips for us.
Yeah. So first, I would try to figure out if you learn better from video or from textbooks. Professor Messer is an amazing resource for those first few levels of CompTIA certifications, and I think there's probably tens of thousands of certificate holders who would probably say the same thing. So if you like video content, that would be great. On the other hand, there's plenty of study books. Is it Mike Myers? With what he does with the all-in-one books and that line of training, I think it's great too. Um, I would recommend getting a variety of resources, though. Don't necessarily just stick to one. So, and that's going to go for everything in this line of work. You might have some good insight from one book and some good insight from one creator, but our knowledge is not limitless, and uh, other people might have better insight or a better perspective on it. But just first figure out if you like videos or reading, and then go from there.
I like how you said to kind of variegate your study material, like what you're going to use. There is no magic bullet out there, I think, that's going to get you to the, not that it can't happen. I think we've had people, because we at ACI, we have Security Plus training, obviously. So a video format. So along the lines of what Joe was talking about, if you like that video training, Professor Messer's always been great. He's super fast. He gets right to the point. If you're looking for more detail and demonstration heavy, then you probably want to pop over to us and watch our content, because we that's our stock and trade, is making sure that you see it work as much as we talk about it, how it works. So giving you that next step in, okay, now I understand what it is. Show me how it works. Give me some context, and then moving on. And of course, bringing in the idea of, Joe mentioned study guides and things of that nature. One thing I would just throw in there as well is, don't underestimate the power of the organic learning experience of going, I don't know what this is, and they tell me it's not really that important, and it probably isn't, or everybody seems to kind of assume that. Get out Google, type in that term, kind of follow down the rabbit trail a little bit, and then come back to where you started. And anytime you run into something, or if you can get your hands on something, yeah, like we offer labs. So if you want to do a lab, you have Security Plus labs. You can log into the lab platform and do the lab, and it tells you, follow the bouncing ball. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. If that was all correct, then you should be seeing X, Y, or Z. But build your own lab, and not because everybody tells you to build a lab, but because it gives you great experience. Your things are going to break. They're not going to go like you think they should a lot of times, and then you got to go, why didn't that work? And what it does is it end up teaching you how to learn what you need to know. And that is invaluable. So it's great. Absorb the knowledge you need to pass your certification. But remember, and especially if you're at the Security Plus level, you're probably, it's a good possibility that you're in the first stages of your career. Learning how to find the answer that you need is just as important as having the answer. Because if you don't know how to find the answer, then you're going to have a hard time with this job, because a lot of it is doing research, figuring out how to get to the right answer so that you can fix your problem, build the thing that you need to build, stand up the server you need to stand up, or do whatever it is you need to do. So that would be the only thing I would add on Joe's advice is really pay attention to that learning experience, and don't shy away from really diving in. I know it'll slow you down a little bit, and it can feel like, oh, I want to sprint to the finish line. Here's a spoiler alert. There's no finish line. It doesn't exist. Urban myth, fake news. It's never going to happen. You're always going to be learning something new. So just take your time, absorb that knowledge, and enjoy. Don't rob yourself of the experience of that learning path. So there you go. That's my take.
Wow. Oh, so that's pretty good. I was really hoping I was going to get a couple celebrity impressions out of you there, but oh well, I'll just have to.
Johnny Carson. No.
Yeah, I'll just have to keep wanting. Well, we've got a bunch more questions here coming in. This one comes to us from Michael. Michael wants to know, what are some skills that you wish you focused on more in the beginning of your cyber career? So if you could turn back time, what would you do differently?
Is that share? Share. Yeah.
Probably.
Cue the Cher song.
I'm sure you're right.
I will not try to sing like Cher because that's
Please
not
don't.
possible. No.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, Joe, if you could rewind the clock, jump in the DeLorean with Doc Brown, find yourself at the beginning of your career, what would be something that you would have really focused on more at that point, being able to tell yourself?
So I think it's something that probably is lacking in the field in general, and that's understanding how misconfigurations happen before you learn how to break them. So, as a penetration tester, uh, you typically learn how to go and attack things and to research how to do it. But on the back end, you always have to worry about remediation. So, when I was coming up, one of those weaknesses I had was figuring out how to remediate things because, I'd never been a systems administrator before or sat on a help desk or anything. And not having that requisite knowledge sometimes, it didn't leave me disadvantaged. It just left me having to do more research. So I would love to see more resources in general that concentrate not just on um, how you do something, but how it became in the first place.
This is information gold, ladies and gentlemen, because he is absolutely right. I cannot tell you. When I was first actually going through this was a concern that I had myself, especially as I got my first admin job. Was when you go take Microsoft certification or you take a lot of certifications, they focus on how the thing works and not how it can kind of go awry or not work, and things that you would commonly need to do to fix or remediate when these things happen. And configuration craziness happens quite a lot, especially as you move into that cyber area stuff. So I couldn't agree with you more that this is one of the most important subjects that is woefully and inadequately covered. In how did this even get to this? How can I avoid this from being a problem in the first place so that we don't have to come back and fix this issue, or that I got to worry about it being an issue and possibly causing a data breach? That would be something I would like to avoid. Where do we stand on that? So yeah, I think you're spot on with that advice.
Wow. Spot on. Don't
Yeah.
hear that term from you very often.
Spot on.
We've got a question. I've been pulling from YouTube quite a bit for these because we do get a lot of traffic on YouTube, but we also get some from Zoom, and we've got a Kelvin in the chat. I love that name, and you never see it. So Kelvin's got a question for
The
you.
most accurate of temperature
measurements, right?
yes.
Kelvin's. That's
yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Cool name, Kelvin. Just
No pun intended.
That's pretty good. Absolute zero.
He's never heard that before, I'm sure.
Got sound effects in my ear going.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, Kelvin, I think you have a cool name, just to start with that. But Kelvin's also got a question for y'all. He says, I'm currently a desktop support engineer, and I feel stuck because I don't know which direction to go. I'm pretty much like a junior sysadmin at the moment. So I think Kelvin's asking, any advice?
That's a toughie. It's so subjective,
Yeah,
right?
that's what we're here for.
I know. That's you put us on the spot because that's tough. We don't.
Yeah.
As cool as your name is, Kelvin, I don't know you. I don't know the inner Kelvin, his aspirations, his hopes, his dreams. Maybe Joe does. Joe, you know Kelvin off the top of your head?
The USS Kelvin from the Chris Pine Star Trek. That's
true.
the only Kelvin I know. So,
Sir, you have brought a good nerd game today. I applaud
try.
you.
I believe you. Okay. So,
I guess if I was just throw something out there, you just got to find what your passion is about it and let that be your guide, right? Because if you're not passionate about it, it's always going to feel like a job. It's always going to feel like a drudgery, and you're just collecting a check because you need money to live. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's what you got, bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. It's better than no job and struggling. But use that. If you're still interested in information technology, cybersecurity, whatever, start looking at what excites me, and then figure out what do people know in that field so that they can be in that field, and let that be your guiding star to your path to getting there. Start talking to people, go on to conferences, get on Discord channels, join communities, and meet people. Joe and I were just talking about this before we started the webinar here, is that it can be really helpful to know some people in those spaces and make friends in those communities, because if they know that you have the passion for it and the skills for it, it becomes an easy button for everybody if they know you, because you're a known entity and they don't have to take a chance on somebody they don't know based off of a resume. Joe, any extra you want to throw on that?
You could go as simple as a pros and cons list. Acting as a junior systems administrator, if that's what you think you're doing, see how comfortable you are with your current position. If the person, the people you work for, you're comfortable, your wage is sufficient, and you're happy there, stick with it. If you think you're doing that job and you can sell and translate the skills and the experience you have from that position now, start looking for other work if you want to stay in it. But like Daniel said, really, just do a deep dive and some soul searching on what you're interested in, and don't rush it by any means. Take some time, look through it, experiment. There's almost a platform for all kinds of security and information technology anymore that comes with labs. It might cost you a few bucks if you don't have training budget at work that you can, maybe expense it to. But just experiment some and see what it is that interests you.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better myself.
What's
mostly
your
because
advice? I mean, this
my
isn't
advice.
necessarily technical. You got any advice?
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, it's not technical, but also I've never been a desktop support engineer, so I don't know that I can speak to that, to
Mm,
being in that position. I will say that when I started working here, I had no direction in what I wanted to do
I
because
can attest to that.
yeah, he knows because he has to work with me every day, so
It was funny.
he could fully see it. But I didn't. It was kind of a happy accident that I ended up here, and so I did not major in anything that was IT related. As a telecom major, so the
Yeah.
most that I did, tech wise, was maybe working with cameras and things like that. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I think it was just a happy chance that I got paired with you for a course to do, I think it was AWS cloud pen testing,
Yep.
and ended up really liking it and being interested in it. Now, I'm not going into I'm not trying to be a pen tester,
Right.
but it got me interested in cybersecurity. So I guess what would that fall under? Networking? Because it was,
Yeah.
kind of your mentoring
You
that got
met
me there.
somebody that knew something about
Yeah.
it, and they showed it to you, and you became interested.
Yeah.
And through that, I know that you're not trying to get into pen testing or anything, but you did, like you said, you became interested in it. I watched you like pick at that interest
Mhm.
and learn things. It's like you've done some things that a lot of people that are just starting out would love to have done,
Right.
because they just don't know about it yet.
Right.
Right. So it's really interesting to see how that was. And that can help you find that. So try a bunch of stuff. Like Joe
Yeah.
said, do that soul searching, figure out where you are, and then pick out a few threads and see which one really, really like gets your passion going, and then start following the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah. The Wizard of Oz.
There it
Oh,
is.
the
The
Yellow Brick
Wizard
Road.
of Oz.
Yeah, I guess it would be my only thing that I can really add to that is if you don't already have a mentor or somebody that you kind of
Mm,
look up to in that field, I'm lucky in that I kind of have that built in here. So
yeah.
if you don't have that already, maybe look into that. See if find somebody that you can look up to, that you can ask questions of, because it has really helped me being here and being able to ask you guys and just kind of witness and just watch and see what you guys are doing and follow kind of in those footsteps and see what works for me. So this kind of generic advice, I guess, is better than just follow your heart. But
Yeah.
it is kind of generic. So, but we've got more questions coming in. This one is a little bit less subjective, but it does have to do with AI, which I just know it's your favorite topic. Joe, I don't know how you feel about AI, but just so you know, that's what this question's all about. What's new in the cybersecurity field as far as AI, and what should I keep in mind as a beginner?
What's
Pretty
new in the
broad. What's
cybersecurity
new?
field of AI?
Give us the deets.
Let's see. Top of my head, I'm going to say that we just actually covered something about AI and threats, and how threats are looking, if they gain access into your systems, they're looking for your access to AI. If you have it, can they utilize the access they've already gotten from you to access that? And if so, what's in your chat log history? Anything? Have you been asking it questions and using secrets in those questions, intellectual property in those questions, and they're pilfering the pockets of your AI, and then using that to even sell your access to other people? so that you can, just have access to other AI systems for the intents and purposes of stealing, because that's their favorite thing to do. So
Mhm.
now that means that we're probably gonna have to build better fences to detect for those types of things. If we don't have them already, they're probably pretty rudimentary at this point. So that's what I see new when it comes to AI. How about you, Joe? Anything interesting with AI?
There's always seems to be an LLM injection, or somebody showing off, how they've made Chat GPT, give them answers that they shouldn't have had. But I think you're spot on. When it comes to AI, start looking at more of the localized level with your companies, and the chat bots and things like that. That are going through a database of terms or responses. And as an attacker, it's just going to be regular methodology. I think when it comes to obtaining some of that data, uh, if you're doing defensive operations, obviously you want to think about things like defense in depth, encryption, in transit, and especially at rest as well. Because if somebody was to get access to your system and that data is not encrypted, you're going to have the exact situation that you were just talking about, which is the attacker now has basically that plain text information in logs or in a database, and they're selling that information, using it as leverage, moving farther into the organization, et cetera. So um, that's what I got on it, I think.
Yeah, AI kind of does what AI does. And I mean, we have seen threat actors using it to try to help them quickly brainstorm and or develop new threats, new malicious uh, code and things of that nature. It doesn't do a very good job of kind of like, it's not the automagic button where you go, hey, AI, make me this, that, or the other. It's usually pretty garbage at that, but it can help you figure out what would be a good way to do that. Has been pretty good, as well as helping phishing campaigns for people that where English is not their first language
Mm.
to be more like English is their first language, because I mean it's a large language models. It's all about language, so they do a better job at crafting emails or helping them craft emails to be successful in their phishing campaigns. But other than that, like, yeah, AI doing what AI do.
Right. It's a good tool. It's a good helper. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's never going to replace fully, the
at least not at this
everything.
point. One day we'll hit the singularity, and our digital overlords will
Yeah.
subjugate
The
us.
year is 3006.
Yeah.
And Daniel's consciousness has been uploaded
You
into a
ain't got to worry about
cyborg.
hackers at that point.
Well, I feel like AI does pop up a lot in the news cycle. It's like every week there's something going on.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's clickbait. You click on it, you're like, that's not really new. It's, you're just trying to get views, which I don't blame them. But shameless plug. If you want to keep up with what's going on in cybersecurity and AI, we will probably talk about it on TechNado at least every other week, if not every week. So maybe tune in and check that out. Just saying, just as a concerned citizen,
Throwing it out there.
just throwing it out there. Just
I'll
take,
just
take
lay
it or
this
leave it.
right here.
Do with it what you will.
Some,
We got a couple more questions coming in here, and I know potentially later in the show we might do some kind of a rapid fire thing. So don't worry, we do have a lot of questions coming in. We're going to do our best to get to all of them, but if we don't, they'll be part of that rapid fire segment at the end, and we'll get more into that later. But just a little teaser, just to keep you around so you can see what's coming. This one comes to us from David, who's watching on Zoom. David says, "Are there any tells besides the same job being reopened every 2 months to identify ghost jobs?" Switching gears a little bit. I don't think we've gotten a question like this before.
I don't think we have. Ghost jobs are so. I'm not 100% checked out on the term ghost jobs. Joe, are you familiar with this term?
Yeah, I think so. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what David is referring to is companies that will open up positions, and it might be because they're looking to obtain a contract with another company, perhaps, and they want to know that they've got an application pool for that position should the contract sell. It could also be that just they're on a rotational basis for putting a job opening up to make it look like they're still hiring. Um, but beyond that, I'm not really sure. I could be completely off base.
Yeah. Sophia, get your Google foo out. No, let's see what we.
I did.
You, did you Google it? You got it?
I did Google it. There's several articles about how they're creating a false sense of hope, but I feel like the term ghost job kind of explains itself as far as it's a
like,
job
it's
posting
just-
with
but it's not
nothing
real,
behind
yeah.
it, right? But there's no like set Oh, okay. A fake job, ghost job, or phantom job is a job posting for a position that is non-existent or has already been filled. So I guess it could be
But
even
for what
just
purpose?
I guess if it's already been filled, maybe it's just that they're not being very good about going back and cleaning up their postings and
Okay,
closing
I can
things.
see
So
that.
maybe it's unintentional, right? It's just, I guess if it's been posted several months ago, you
Yeah.
can kind of
So,
assume.
the question says, are there tells besides the same job being reopened every 2 months? So it's obviously not like
Right.
a job that they forgot about.
According to Wikipedia, which is the most reliable source on the internet, the employer may post fake job openings for many reasons, such as inflating statistics about their industries, protecting the company from discrimination lawsuits, or fulfilling requirements by HR departments. Or promise, yeah, that's so, yikes. Or potentially promising recruits for future hiring. So maybe they're not quite looking to hire yet, but they want to see what's out there,
Man,
which seems a little dishonest.
you know what I would do if I saw that happening? I would not apply to that job.
There you go.
I'm like, obviously, based off of what we've just learned about what ghost jobs are and what they could be being utilized for, it's nothing good. So that's not somewhere I would want to work at that point. That's just me. You could be different, and that's fine. That's what makes the world go round. But if it's a problem with you, then obviously you probably, that would be a great telltale sign that this is not a place where you might want to actually be employed. So yeah, that's kind of how I take that. I have heard of creating fake job openings by threat actors to hire people that work for their targets. They'll contact them. Hey, I saw your GitHub. I saw your this. I saw your that. Whatever it is you're doing, we think you're amazing. And I know it's kind of like not a cool thing to poach people, but you were just such a unicorn hire. We want to give you, and they'll make the salary and benefits package sweet enough, but not too sweet, to really entice somebody to come over, and then they bring information with them or access or whatever. Hey, open these emails, click on these links, fill out our resume part, and then that's all phishing
Right.
and links to gain access into their system so they can gain access into their target system. So I've heard about that. Maybe that could fall underneath the idea of a ghost job because it's not real. It's being used for social engineering purposes.
That's interesting. That's an interesting perspective that I would not have thought of.
Oh, they'll do
but
like interviews and everything with you.
That's like, they're getting creative.
It's no
Kinda
joke.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. I did find it was an article on LinkedIn that talked about a couple signs. Check the date was number one. If it's been up for longer than 2 months, then you probably want to shy away from it. There's a good chance that it's already been filled, maybe, or that it is a ghost posting. But the other thing it mentioned was to cross-reference the company website, see if that position exists on the website itself, or if you're just finding it on like Indeed or Monster. Research the employer's social media, and then if you can't find anything there, contact the company directly. If it is a real job posting, they'll help you apply. And if it's not, well, they kind of set themselves up for that.
There you go.
And then they're just embarrassed. And you get to be the
Yeah.
Ghostbuster.
You're
so to
better
speak.
than that. That's Bush
Yeah,
League.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Well, that's interesting. I don't think we've ever gotten a question like that
that's a good one.
before. So thank you for that one, David. That was a pretty good one. We'll go ahead and move on. We do have a couple questions here on Zoom I want to get to. So this one comes to us from a gentleman named Robert. Robert wants to know, what's your opinion? It was a little more complex. What's your opinion on migrating stuff to the blockchain and the security challenges on that environment? I'm gonna leave this one to you guys. I'm not familiar with this.
Migrating stuff to the blockchain and the security challenges on that environment. I've never done anything on the blockchain.
That makes two of us.
So, Joe, how about you? You a blockchain guy?
We were just talking about this before the show a little bit with Web3 and blockchain, and I don't have any opinions or recommendations. I do think that it's something that's been pushed pretty hard on an industry that's just not ready to, welcome it with open arms. So I think buy-in first and foremost is going to be a huge challenge when you're looking at blockchain, you're looking at Web3, as well as the simple security, mechanics of it that really I don't think people even understand. You're looking at mathematics and large math basically for how these things are encrypted and stored. So honestly, I think it's going to be the lack of knowledge, and moving forward, that's going to have to be really provided for folks to understand it. But if it's going to get pushed, it's going to be pushed organically, and it's just going to have to come to life over time.
Yeah, I would assume that if you try to jump into something like this right now, that due to the complexity of it, the scarcity of it, as far as like it being ubiquitous in like everyday enterprise environments, that's going to be tough to work with and deal with, and you're gonna have a few resources to help you with that. So and that becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy of it not ever really gaining any traction, because it's like, well, I can't take the chance of putting it on my network and utilizing it because we might just mess the whole thing up and not do it right, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to wait for other people to do it, and everybody's waiting for everybody else to do it. So it's been slow to adoption. So until it gains more traction than that, it just seems like we'll just keep sticking with what we do know, and we can just focus on doing that better, because there's a lot of room for improvement there. It's not that we don't have good security technology in place. It's just that a lot of times we just don't do it very well. And that's why pen testers have jobs, because they come in behind you and go, okay, I see what you did here. And unfortunately, you forgot to turn this default off, or you forgot to change the password there, or you're just doing something foolishly. You're trusting user input. That's a big fat no. We all know that, but it still tends to happen. So we probably just want to focus on working on that, and that allows the time for other newer, more complex technologies to come on, make make themselves more usable and user friendly, so that we can start to incorporate them into our environments. But right now, it just doesn't seem like it's quite there.
So what I'm hearing is keep being bad at cybersecurity. It gives pen testers a job. That's
Yeah,
it's job security for a pen tester out there.
that's right.
If you were a loved one, knows a pen tester. And speaking of pen testers, we've got somebody that's familiar with this stuff in our studios this week, and he has dropped a question in the chat. Should
Oh,
we
no.
take that question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to double check with you.
You mean my mentor?
I do mean your mentor.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Your authority,
That's right.
authorita, if you will.
That's right. My
So
authority.
this comes to us from Mr. Mike Saunders. I don't know if he likes going by Michael. Maybe he'll get mad at
From
me for
Red
that.
Siege fame.
Michael from Siege, Red.
Siege,
He's got, Mike from the studio's
the
got
reddest
a question.
of all the sieges.
The red, yeah, on the scale. Mike wants to know, just very objective question here.
Of course.
Would you recommend taking a technical writing course or picking up a book on the topic to level up your report writing skills?
Oh man.
I know we've never talked about this before, and you're not familiar with it at all. So
I don't even know what a report is.
Mhm.
That is this a French word, or like
Report.
how's that work? Yeah. I mean, I cannot wait to really hear, because Joe, you just kind of been your stock and trade for the last few years of your career. Let's talk about report writing. How bad is it out there?
Well, I think we take a lot of pride in how our reports are with our company. As a pen testing consultancy, oftentimes you don't really have much insight to how other companies are, providing their reports. We do ask clients on occasion if they want to provide us with information from their previous pen tests so that we can look at them. And generally speaking, most of the reports are well written. When it comes to the recommendation, I can teach, an adult to pen test. I can't teach an adult soft skills. Things that, as an adult, you've gone through, 12, 13 years of, school, all the way up through high school. And, with more and more requirements for education going into, college, you should probably, be able to write when you start looking for work. So if you can find a technical writing course, whether it's at, community college or a tech school, or, even Udemy or something, I definitely recommend it. Because when you come to me and apply for a pen test job, yes, we're going to ask you technical stuff, but we want to see where you are technically and see how much training we might have to provide you. We're definitely looking more at the soft skills. Can you write? Can you talk to clients? How well do you communicate? So I would spend most of my time, and I'm not even kidding about that, most of my time working on my soft skills when you're trying to level up and get into work.
Mike, me and him were talking about this at lunch today, actually, and how you can find these geniuses when it comes to the technical skills, kind of to Joe's point, but then you ask them to write something for you, and they whip out their Denny's placemat and a crayon. You're going, what are you doing? You understand that Word will help you with these things. There helps, and it's been my experience with a lot of people that I've talked to in the field that they say that that's one of the biggest struggles for juniors, is that they just don't have the writing skills, the soft skills, to be able to effectively produce a report that they would be proud to turn in as a company. So if they see potential with them, they will invest the time and effort into teaching them how to write a good report, making sure they're doing peer reviews and things of that nature to make sure that it it goes well and they can turn something in that they're proud of. But a lot of times that is just one of the struggle buses that most young budding pen testers and red teamers are on as far as that. So as far as a book goes, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to make my own course. I'll yeah,
I would take that
yeah,
course.
he'll put that like Joe said, we'll put that on Udemy or whatever, and yeah, there you go. Soft skills for
It'll
pen
just
testers.
be verbal abuse to learn to write a report.
It'll sell 3 copies
And I will be one of them.
because nobody wants to do that part of the job. They just want to hack, and I get that. I get
I
that.
feel like I'd be on the other side of it. I would love putting together the report, but the hacking part of it, I'm not well versed enough in that to
Yeah.
do it. So if it was like, give me all the information, I'll put it in a report for you. I could. Is that a thing?
Well, like Joe said, he can teach you how to hack. He can't
Yeah.
teach you his
Soft
job is
skills.
not,
Yeah.
an English teacher for your formative years.
You don't have a poetry unit over at TCM?
I can see Jody. You whip out your red pen when the report's coming. He's like, "Oh, there's a double negative here, and you should have indented." And
Yeah.
I know they take it in stride, but they probably hate me when I'm QA and stuff.
well, it's like you said, your company's name is going on that
Yeah.
report, and you're turning it in. That is what your clients are buying from you. That's what they purchased, is that report and your advice to them. So it's got to be good. So
Yeah.
if you're out there thinking, you know what, this pen testing seems like the life for me, and I would love to hack on company stuff. Yes, great, good, get those skills. One of them being soft skills. One of them being practice writing reports. Look at report templates that are out there. See the pros and cons of each one. Look at conversations that people are having about reports and why somebody thinks this is good over that. Of course, there's always going to be philosophical differences in the way. I've seen many different types of reports, but they all kind of contain the same main theme, and it can be those minutia differences on how they deliver that, but ultimately you get those basics down, and that way you can write a solid report.
Yeah. We're gonna switch gears a little bit here. This next question, we're not quite at the rapid fire yet. Not quite there. Oh, I see. You're
I'm
switching
shifting
gears.
gears, yeah.
I see. Haha, that was very funny. You could tell by the way I'm laughing. We're not getting to rapid fire yet. That'll be in just a few minutes. But we do have a question here that I'm not really sure how to interpret it.
Okay.
I don't really know
I
what
like
side.
how you have faith that we will.
Hey, I don't really know what side of it they're coming from. But Yuri from YouTube says, I'm in love with malware. Is there a market for this? If so, how do I begin? Now, I don't know if they mean that
Yeah.
they just love getting malware on their computer, or if they mean like they want to learn more about how to use it, or how to like pen test using malware, or I'm not really sure what the angle is here.
Okay. We'll have to presuppose some motivations behind Yuri.
Sure.
And we're going to presuppose that Yuri is not
A criminal?
Yes, is not a criminal and is looking like how do I hack people? How do I steal their things? That's not what we're wanting to do. But there is absolutely a market for cybersecurity malware, right? We use it all the time, and there's different areas in which you could get into. Joe, if do you deal a lot with malware at all, or anything like that around malware?
Yeah, I mean, pen testing uses malware all the time, whether that's a simple reverse shell or you're putting a web shell on, a web application. It's just malicious software, right? So I think that there's a lot of different avenues. Again, it's going to be one of those soul searching things, though. Just to be a malware developer, I think you're going to be hard pressed until you might be able to break in and get a job on a red team that has room for malware development. However, using malware or developing things locally for your pen test company, that's something we do. Other things you could look at, cyber threat intelligence, malware analysis or research. You can look at reverse engineering. You can look at threat hunting. You can look at incident response. And there's a lot of different fields that open up if you're really interested in malware. But most of those interests are going to have to be paired with something else. You're not just likely going to get just malware developer unless you get really lucky.
Yeah. And if you're looking to get into this field, obviously you want to start looking at malware. That's going to be what you want to do. So, like to Joe's point, start looking at cyber threat intelligence to see what are the new malware variants out there. Check out things like the Hacker News; they are always reporting on new malware variants that are hitting out there, and you can follow those links to the initial analysis report. You can stand up a honeypot and start actually waiting for new malware to infect the machine, and then now you can kind of analyze it. You obviously want to build a sandbox and be very careful with doing something like that because it's malware, and if it's on a network that you care about, you're probably going to have a bad time. So make sure that you build a safety environment for that honeypot to sit in. But that's how a lot of malware analysis companies work: is they stand up honeypots, they put up common servers and software and services to allow for new variants of malware to come in and try to exploit it, so that they can be on top of that. And then from that, they take IOCs, you can build out YAR and Sigma rules and all this. There's a lot that goes around because malware is so ubiquitous in real life. And then to Joe's point, if you want to be on a red team or something like that, there is definitely a niche for someone who writes malwares, implants, anything that connect back to their C2 framework, giving them that initial access, even as far as persistence goes. Lots of crazy things you can do with that. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, we've been working on evasion techniques for building malware that can evade AV and EDR platforms so that you can get those shells without getting detected by the standard cybersecurity systems that are out there. So a lot to be done out there. You just got to check out the Malware Zoo. Just look up the Malware Zoo. So if you want to look at some malware samples, I think it's just basically a GitHub repo of different well-known malware variants that you can download those malwares, stick them in a virtual machine, and kind of play with them, see how they work, see what they do, disassemble those things, and do your own analysis to learn that stuff. Plenty of books that are out there that do this stuff as well. So just start looking. Definitely a market for it. It's just kind of a niche market.
I remember you going through the Malware Zoo in a couple of our episodes, like in courses here, like
Yeah.
CEH and stuff. And I just got such a kick out of it because it's just such fun names. I mean, the malware is not good.
No,
It's not a good thing.
horrible people.
But it was kind of fun to go through and see like how much there was and like the fun little names they give them.
Dude, it's a never-ending sea of malware out there.
It's like how they give the threat actors like fun names, like Savvy Seahorse. I'm like,
Yeah,
what the
Savvy
heck?
Seahorse.
Give them a name like Diaper Boy, and maybe they'll stop doing what they're
Right.
doing. But you give them cool names like Cozy Bear, and it's like this kind of a cool name.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Cozy Bear. Camaro Dragon.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
That's a recurring one. It's
gonna
pretty
say,
cool.
yeah.
But I'm gonna start getting angry here. So we'll move on. We got time for one more question before we get into that rapid fire segment. This one comes to us from Zoom. This person wants to know, how are the CCNA and CCNP certifications? Will they help me get a job?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for elaborating. Joe, do you have an opinion on this? You want to weigh in since Daniel's goofing over here?
I kid.
Yes.
Great.
I've never been a network administrator or anything. I think that they're probably really good training courses, especially if you want to get into a Cisco shop. They also have the dual purpose of, obviously requiring you to understand networking at a very granular level. So I think that yes, they will help you get a job. No, they won't get you the job. Of course, you're definitely going to have to prove yourself beyond the certification.
Yeah, and if all things were equal, I think between you and another possible candidate for a position, and everything, like I said, all things are equal except you have CCNA or CCNP and they don't. It's quite possible that could kind of make you the standout candidate for a position. Like to Joe's point, that's not necessarily true. Somebody hiring manager could be like, I hate Cisco, and it makes me want to throw up. See, this is on your resume. It's possible that occurs, but generally speaking, yeah, they can be helpful because you would know networking fairly well, especially if you had the CCNP. CCNA is a great certification. CCNP is a really great certification. Cisco is everywhere. I mean, they hold the large market share of networking equipment. So if you have cybersecurity and you specialize in networking, that could help you in certain instances with certain jobs.
Okay. Well, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's that rapid fire segment that I mentioned. Now we're having some technical difficulties. We are not going to have a timer visible on the screen, but trust me, I will be keeping track of the time.
Look at me. Look at me. You are the timer now.
I am the timer now. Yes. I'm not going to do that accent because I'll do it bad and I'll offend somebody.
I think that's how you're supposed to do, right? Is badly.
Yeah,
Right.
it makes it funnier, right?
Yeah.
But I do have a timer going, and I promise I will maintain my integrity, and I will be honest, and I will bring the hammer down when the question is time to be done. So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and jump right in because we do still have questions rolling in. You guys ready to get? Oh, I probably should explain to Joe what we're doing.
Yeah,
Probably
Joe's
should
like,
give him a
"What's
heads up."
happening?
He's like, "What's a rapid fire?" So Joe, when we get towards the end of the show like this, we're here in our last 10 minutes. We try to get through as many questions as we can. What I'm going to do is have a timer going on my end. It's going to be a minute for each question. You and Daniel can go back and forth. You can each give your opinion or an answer to the question, but keeping it surface level, getting through it pretty quick. And when your time is up, I will let you know.
Yeah.
Sound good?
That's what these electrodes were for.
Yeah, you get shocked if you go over the time limit. How you feeling, Joe? You ready to get started?
I didn't get my electrode in the mail in time, but yes, ready to get going.
Oh, that takes some of the fun out of it. But all right, just to transition us into this segment, we got a little clip for you. Let's take a look. All right, first question. 3, 2, 1, go. I am studying Security Plus, but I'm finding the cryptography section challenging. Any tips or advice to help me understand better?
Cryptography hard.
Okay.
Oh, it's all about the algorithms, right? Just memorize those algorithms, kind of figure out what category they fall under, have those at the ready, where they're used. I think that's probably going to be your best bet to go.
Yeah. Joe?
Understand the difference between symmetric and asymmetric and which ones align with each category. Keep in mind, a lot of security you may not be dealing with algorithms, so know it now, grind into it, and if you need it again, you know where to get it.
I would say my only tip is just willpower.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Yeah.
It's
Osmosis.
Cryptography hard.
Sleep with your Security Plus book under your head.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. Yeah, we're worth a try, right? Worst that can happen is it doesn't work.
I don't have a pillow for that one.
That's right. That's the next one coming, right?
Well, that is a minute. We'll move on to our... Oh, and they gave us the sound effect. How
Hey,
nice.
cool.
All right, next question. I'm an IT manager. I have a degree in IT, but no certs. Is it worth me getting A+, or should I just jump into Net Plus and Sec Plus?
Okay, that's interesting. Well, it's obviously going to depend on your current skill set, which we don't know.
True.
But I would say you could probably bypass the A+ on that one. Just go on that Net Plus and Sec Plus if that's what you're into.
Yeah, you're an IT manager already. First, I would ask, is there a reason you're searching out those certifications and maybe not something more management related, looking at CISM, CISA, CISSP, or something like that? If you're trying to transition from help desk manager into something else, then yeah, Network Plus and Sec Plus might be a good idea. Security Plus definitely if you're trying to get into cybersecurity.
All right. That's a good point. If you're looking to stay in management, there's different certs you might pursue than if you're looking to make a jump. So good to keep in mind. This next question says, what would you recommend? Learn a vulnerability and focus on it for a while, or learn various vulnerabilities? And they added a bonus question at the end. What things should I know in, I think that's JavaScript for cross-site scripting?
That is not a
Tack
1-minute
that on
question.
at the end. Yeah. Maybe we'll focus on that first part about the vulnerabilities.
I feel like it's probably, all things being equal, maybe better to be well versed in a bunch of things than just one specific thing, because then you kind of pigeonhole yourself.
Mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah. Especially if you're starting out, gain as much broad experience as you can.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
I will say, if you're trying to, so this seems like a bug bounty question in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to be a bug bounty hunter, time is money, so you're trying to knock out as much as you can. I would, target 1 or 2 different types of vulnerabilities. If you're trying to become a penetration tester, you need to get the web security testing guide from OWASP and learn that from start to finish. Stop worrying so much about the onesies, twosies.
Oh.
I like it. Good advice.
Strategy. I like that. Getting into some strat here. This next one says, I skipped a question. I'm in an internship as a technology help desk specialist, but I want to be in cybersecurity. How long should I stay in the help desk position and pursue cybersecurity?
Only as long as you absolutely have to, right? You're always...
Nothing says you have to.
Right. Just keep going. Push. Try to find people that can help you. Pursue it now. The time is now.
Sounds like Joe.
And as an intern right now, oh yeah, sorry to interrupt. As an intern right now, you're already hustling. Hustle harder.
Right.
Start making those connections with people who can make decisions. Ask if you can go hang out with the security team. If you're at a college doing an internship or something, start making those connections. Start getting your foot in that door.
Yeah. Sardonic motivational speaking with Daniel and Joe. We love to see it. This next one says, I've been in IT for a while, but I'd like to move into cybersecurity. Where do I start from? What do I do? What's the foundational course that I can start with?
If you've been in IT for a while, you should have the foundations at that point. Now you just want to build upon it. Start learning specifically cyber stuff that is around whatever you're interested in. A lot of times it comes down to you have to figure out, where's your passion? Do I like defensive? Do I like offensive? If so, maybe I'm into bug bounty or web app. You have to figure those things out. Start looking at the playing field, and once you kind of keyed on the thing that you like so much or the most, then that's when you start focusing that way. You pick up the resources and it all kind of tumbles in place after that.
Nothing to add there.
I was going to say, he looked like he
I
was
took him
just,
the whole damn minute. So.
he was in agreement. He was in agreement. This next one says, I'm making a career transition to IT, and the aspect of cybersecurity that resonates with me is pen testing. Where do I start my journey learning-wise, since I have no tech experience?
Joe, take this one, would you please?
So start looking for entry-level penetration testing courses. At TCM Security, we have an academy where you can learn a lot of that stuff. Don't overlook the basic security tenets and principles that you'll need for any cybersecurity job, though. So Security Plus is great for that. And then start getting into hands-on. After Security Plus, I would avoid text-based exams and start looking for hands-on stuff. Go get WASA, figure out how to deploy WASA. Figure out how to deploy virtual machines, make them purposefully vulnerable to things, and figure out how to fix them. Figure out how to hack them. Figure out how to write a report and do that for each and every instance of things that you're doing.
Yes.
All right. We love to see it. I believe this is going to be our last one for this rapid fire segment. What are the key skills needed to level up in cybersecurity? Can you name one technical and one behavioral skill? It's like a rubric.
Yeah. I'll go with straight out of the gate with the behavioral skill is learn how to be someone people want to work with, right? Because that is gold. People want good people on their team. Don't be the person nobody wants to be on their team. Even if you're great technically, if you can't interpersonally work with people, no one wants you. So that is a great behavioral skill. Learn how to be gregarious and welcoming and inviting and inclusive and all that to other people, and learn how to translate that into like your reports and stuff.
Yeah. Anything to add?
Absolutely. Read the room is really important from a technical perspective. Stay curious. Don't get bored. And just constantly be searching something else. Searching something else out that interests you and that you can learn and better yourself.
Yeah. It's kind of nice to hear you guys talk about how these soft skills are so important, because it's something that maybe I'm a little bit stronger in that area. My technical skills, I'm still learning a lot, but at the very least, I know that can be taught. And maybe the area that can't be taught so much, I'm doing okay. And hopefully.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just practicing those things. You got to get over your anxieties and everybody's got weird idiosyncrasies about themselves. You just got to kind of recognize what might turn most people off. I know what they are about me. I can go a little too much. I could be a little too much for a lot of people. So I got to learn to kind of rein that in. That's just me looking inward. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if, with you working for TCM and you being in a COO position, higher up, right? This
mm,
is just something that I'm obviously pretty young. I'm very new to this field. I don't have any perspective from that position. You've obviously been in the field for a long time. You've seen some stuff. So for you guys, having been around the block and having done this stuff for a while, seeing those soft skills come into play, is this something that you guys both kind of had from the beginning? Because you're both good speakers. You're both good writers, I think, from what I've seen. Did you guys have to work at building that stuff up, or has that always come naturally to you?
for me, I've been around a lot of sociopaths.
Oh, yeah.
So you learn to kind of like keep people happy. And from that, I was able to, I'm not being facetious. I was actually grew up
Right.
with
Yes.
sociopaths. And I did learn that skill from that, how to easily keep people at ease around me. And then that just kind of became my personality in a lot of ways. So it wasn't something I necessarily learned, but I learned that part of my personality people liked. So
Hmm.
I can just turn it on when I need to.
What about you, Joe? Are you naturally inclined that way, or is that something that you kind of had to build over time?
I think I am probably more inclined. I was a mayor once, so delving into politics, you find ways to communicate with people, make them feel good about themselves with different issues, whether you agree with them or not. And I think as you work and start communicating with more people in this field, sometimes you need to make your client feel like they're winning, and not necessarily losing. So really reading that room, understanding the people you're talking to, and you only get seconds or minutes sometimes to determine what their attitude might be. But address every person specific to that person, not specific to the way you think they should be talked to, unless it's talking to them with respect and kindness. And
I can't believe it took us the entire hour to mention that you used to be a mayor.
I know. I know.
I
You
like I
thought we
read that
would
the
have
other
led
day.
with that.
Yeah, you would have thought that would have been the intro. I didn't even think to include
Yeah.
it because I just forgot. I'll be honest. But that is a neat little anecdote. Mayor Joe, look at that. Well, that's gonna pretty much bring us to the end of our hour. But I don't want to wrap up before giving y'all a chance, especially you, Joe, to plug anything you want to plug. Where can we find you? Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, anything you want to plug? Oh, they're
you see my name there on the chyron at the bottom. Just Joe Helle on Twitter, Joe Helle on LinkedIn, and certainly if you're looking for training opportunities, come check us out over at TCM Academy. We might have a training modality that really resonates with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Joe. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time, and of course, Daniel, thanks for being here, even though we required you to
They
be
made
here.
me.
They made. Yeah, he's
I'm
chained
chained to the chair.
Yeah, he's chained to the chair right now. Well, thanks so much again, Joe, for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. We'll be back next month. We're going to have John Strand on the show. We'll also be at HackSpaceCon in April, so don't forget to come out and see us there. And, of course, new episodes of TechNado every Thursday. Check those out as well. But for Daniel Lowrie, I'm Sophie Goodwin. We'll see you next time.